Kite by R.K. Narayan, which I was reading out to you all. Tell me about it, Raju said, the old habit of affording guidance to others asserting itself. Tourists who recommended him to one another would say at one time, if you are lucky enough to be guided by Raju, you will know everything. He will not only show you all the worthwhile places but also help you in every way. It was it was in his nature to get involved in others' interests and activities. Otherwise, Raju often reflected, I should have grown up like 1,000 other normal persons, without worries in life. My troubles would not have started, Raju said in the course of narrating his story to this man who was called Villain at a later stage, but for Rosie. Why did she call herself Rosie? She did not come from a foreign land. She was just an Indian who should have done well with Devi, Meena, Lalita, or any of the 1,000 names we have in our country. She chose to call herself Rosie. Don't imagine on hearing her name that she wore a short skirt or cropped her hair. She looked just the orthodox dancer that she was. She wore saris of bright hues and gold lace, had curly hair which she braided and beflowered, wore diamond earrings and a heavy gold necklace. I told her at the first opportunity what a great dancer she was, how she fostered our culture traditions, and it pleased her. Thousands of persons must have said the same thing to her since, but I happened to be the first in the line. Anyone likes to hear flattering sentiments, and more than others, I suppose, dancers. They like to be told every hour of the day how well they keep their steps. I pressed her art whenever I could snatch a moment alone with her and whisper in her ear, out of the range of that husband of hers. Oh, what a man! I have not met a more grotesque creature in my life. Instead of calling herself Rosie, she would more logically have called him Marco Polo. He dressed like a man about to undertake an expedition, with his thick colored glasses, thick jacket, and a thick helmet over which was perpetually stretched a green, shiny, waterproof cover, giving him the appearance of a space traveler. I have, of course, no idea of the original Marco Polo's appearance, but I wanted to call this man Marco at the first sight, and I have not bothered to associate him with any other name since. The moment I set eyes on him on that memorable day at a railway station, I knew that here was a lifelong customer for me, a man who preferred to dress like a permanent tourist was just what a guide passionately looked for all his life. You may want to ask why I became a guide or when. I was a guide for the same reason as someone else is a signaller, porter, or guard. It is fated thus. Don't laugh at my railway associations. The railways got into my blood very early in life. Engines, with their tremendous clanging and smoke, ensnared my sense. I felt at home on the railway platform and considered the station master and porter the best company for man and their railway talk the most enlightened. I grew up in their midst. Ours was a small house opposite the Malgudi station. The house had been built by my father with his own hand long before trains were thought of. He chose this spot because it was outside the town and he could have it cheap. He had dug the earth, kneaded the mud with water from the well, and built the walls and roofed them with coconut thatch. He planted papaya trees around, which yielded fruits, which he cut up and sold in slices. A single fruit brought him 8 annas if he carved it with dexterity. My father had a small shop built of dealwood, planks, and gunny sacks, and all day he sat there selling peppermints, fruit, tobacco, bitter leaf, parched gum, which he measured out in tiny bamboo cylinders, and whatever else the wayfarers on the trunk road demanded. It was known as the Heart Shop. A crowd of peasants and drivers of bullock wagon were always gathered in front of his shop. A very busy man indeed. At midday, he called me when I went in for his lunch and made a routine statement at the same hour. Raju, just take my seat. Be sure to receive the money for whatever you give. Don't eat off all that eating stuff. It's gift for sale. Call me if you have doubts. And I kept calling aloud, Father, green peppermints, how many for half an hour? While the customer waited patiently. 3, he shouted from the house with his mouth stuffed with food. But if he is buying for 3/4 of an anna, we give him, he mentioned some complicated concession which I could never reply.
So this is the end of the extract of the novel The Guide by R.K. Narayan, which I was reading out to you all. So in the next video, I'm going to come up with a story which is very different from the ones which I'm reading out to you. I have got some suggestion from my listeners to come up with a thriller or a mysterious story. So I'm going to come up with one such in my next video. Till then, if you have not listened to the stories which I have already read out to you all, so do visit my channel in YouTube. It's The Storyteller. The links of all the previous videos are there in the description box. You can click on that and you can listen to these stories which I have read out to you. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening to my story.